This video is made with the sponsorship of Ecrotech New Zealand, one source for all your beekeeping requirements. Hi, Trev here from Trevs Bees on Facebook and YouTube. Once again, we're talking with Neil Farrer from Wanganui, and today we want to talk about bee nutrition and bee health. And as you can see, we've got a couple of products here, VitaBee and FeedBee. And so, start off, Neil, let's talk about bee health. What's, apart from it explaining itself, what's so important?
Unfortunately, in our environment that we live in now and our bees have to live in, we are deficient in good food supplies for the bees. This is the major problem, particularly for the commercial people, but also affects hobbyists as well. When we think of the bad old days, if you like, when we had oodles of trees, bushes, forest, and pasture with long grass and lots of flowers in, now with farming in particular with intensive stock ratios, we just do not have this profusion of nectar and pollen sources for the bees. And this is where this product in particular, and there are others, address that issue. So we're looking at nutrition. What is good nutrition for the bees? The bees' diet consists of only two things, pollen and nectar.
Yep.
And both of those have to be top quality to have a good hive and a productive hive.
And diverse.
And diverse. If you think of our diet, meat and spuds, on its own, or fish and chips, it's not enough.
No.
We need a varied diet of all sorts of vegetables and meats for that matter to give us the minerals and everything we need, the lipids, and the bees have similar requirements from pollen. Not all pollens are equal.
Yep.
Wind-blown pollens in particular are very poor nutritional product, so it's no good to bees, although they'll gather it if there's nothing else. So we want good things like gorse and willow in particular in the spring, where they're getting good sustenance. So it's that vital part which unfortunately more and more in New Zealand is not available, and that's where this product comes in.
So, how long have you been bringing in FeedBee, and what made you do the research to find out about it? Because I know this is a Canadian product, isn't it?
It is a Canadian product, yes. Now, if we go back 10 years, we had instances where in some apiaries the bees were not doing very well. And couldn't figure out why.
Whereas an apiary half a kilometre down the road was doing all right, or a kilometre down the road.
Exactly.
Yep.
And even more so today.
Yep.
And the development of the hive was restricted to the food that was coming in. So just like our own children, good food, adequate rest, the children grow and are healthy, and the bees exactly the same. 10 years ago I was approached by a gentleman, Dr. Abdi Safari in Canada. He's got a double doctorate in animal nutrition, so he's forgotten more than I've ever known. And he said, I have this wonderful product from 15 years of research. He and a team had been researching it. And I said, can you send me a sample? He did. I tried it in my hives and the results were fantastic. So I was converted right there and then. I could see the results.
What specifically happened? What did you see that happened? I don't want a chemical analysis of the bees, but what did you actually see that happened?
I'm not a scientist, I'm a beekeeper.
Yeah.
And so to me, the health of my bees, the productivity of my bees, the way the queen was laying, the brood developing, the number of bees was a vital factor. I found I could bring a 4-frame nuke in early August to the end of October, 2 boxes absolutely bubbling with bees, ready for pollination or that first honey flow. And that to me was very significant. I couldn't do it without it.
Okay. And so why feed bee then? Apart from the Canadian talking to you, why feed bee? There is other products on the market.
If we look at other products on the market, and in New Zealand today, there is one other product which I have no hesitation in saying it is a good product, it is different, and it has a different base. This particular one is entirely derived from plant material, very, very finely ground. It looks like and is the colour of soya flour, but there's no soya flour in it. Neither is there any pollen or any other bee product in there. It is very finely ground vegetable material, specifically designed for what the bees need for vitamins and lipids and every other part of their diet. So this is 100% what the bees need.
Yep. And as you said, because there's no bee products, there is zero chance of us spreading bee diseases.
Absolutely. I've had to jump through a lot of hoops with New Zealand biosecurity regulations to get this product in the first place, and every shipment that comes in I have to go through those same hoops again to show that there's nothing in here which could pose a risk to our New Zealand beehives with any new diseases coming in. Biosecurity is absolutely vital, and so I'm very careful with that.
Yep. Now, obviously, it's in a powder form. Do we feed it in a powder form? Or do we mix it with something? Or what do we do with it? I've now decided I'm going to buy a bag of this off you. What do I do with it?
You are one of the new converted, right. The instructions are here in many languages on how to mix it.
Yep.
But let's look at the application. You can feed it to the hive as a dry powder. The difficulty there is measuring how much that particular hive is getting benefit from that powder if you just have it in a container outside. Wasps, birds, anything could be digging into that powder. You can also mix it into your sugar syrup and feed it as a liquid. With anything that you're putting into your sugar syrup, it's very important to have the suspension of it correct within your liquid.
And otherwise it's all going to settle out and all ends up on the bottom of the feeder.
Exactly. So, yes, one bag of this you would put into about 500 litres of sugar syrup. So there's a fair bit of mixing and agitating.
Okay, yeah.
Whereas it has been found over the years that the most practical way is to make patties. And the patties consist of feed bee and sugar syrup, and of the last couple of years I have been adding icing sugar just to help the overall consistency and keep it soft. That has proved to be the most successful way of getting it in the hive. It's available to the bees 24/7, regardless of weather, and regardless of whether it's windy, rainy or whatever. And if the bees find another good source of pollen, they'll go there, but then at night they're eating off the feed bee patty.
So do we need to put that in the feeder, or do we put that patty just on the frame?
The patty, I make them up to 300 gram size. You can carry them in a bucket or any way you like, and I have some samples here. There is a sample patty. It is very soft, ready to put in a hive. And all you would do in this instance is score it a couple of times so it's available to the bees, and put it down on top of the frames of your top box if it's too high, or if it's one high, just there underneath the crown board. And normally within 5 days the bees have eaten every particle of it.
Yeah. And what's the wrapper you've got on here?
This is actually a pie bag.
Okay.
But I still use and used extensively for a number of years ordinary luncheon greaseproof paper, and just wrapped it. But just now we were making such big volumes up, it's easy to have it squirting straight into a pie bag, and every one is 300 gram size, which is the ideal size.
300 grams. Yep.
Yes.
We've got a 20 kg bag of feed bee. How much syrup are we going to put in to this?
For each bag we're going to use 18 to 20 litres of sugar syrup.
Yep.
Normal commercial
2 to 1. Yep. Yep. And we're also going to put in some icing sugar.
Yes. Now the icing sugar, we've got to make sure that there's no corn flour, no maize flour in the icing sugar, because the bees cannot digest the maize or the corn flour. So you want double milled, finely ground sugar. It can have tapioca in it as an anti-Cajun agent, otherwise nothing.
Okay. And and how much? About
3 kg.
About 3 kgs. So with the syrup in this, it's about 1 to 1 and about 3 kg. Now the other thing that we've got sitting here, Neil, is Vita-Bee. I know you said earlier on that really we don't need to put any extra additives in with the feed bee. All the nutrition is there, but you do sell this Vita-Bee.
Yes.
Why?
Yeah.
Microelements.
There are various brands available in the country now. The difference between Vita-Bee and the other seaweed-based products, or those with other things in them, is this is slightly oil-based and it's full of protein, lipids, vitamins, omega-3s. It's good for all sorts of things. The company that supplies this actually does it for all sorts of animals: horses, cattle, dogs, goats, pedigrees, the whole 9 yards. And this has been specially developed through Massey University for bees.
Okay, so it's a local product.
Local product made here in Wanganui.
Okay.
The big thing you notice we're using this, and it can be mixed in the sugar syrup or it can be in the patties. In the sugar syrup you would put roughly 50 mils per hive when you're feeding. You notice one thing immediately: the bees become very calm, very quiet, and very easy to work. They become absolute pussycats. It's lovely.
Dope for the bees.
Yeah, they're getting so much goodness out of it.
Yeah.
And when you're putting it into here, you are enhancing the benefit of the feed bee, which is protein, pollen, as well. So you get the benefit coming back through there. So it's another option that can be added into your feed bee patties, or it can be put into sugar syrup.
Yep. Yep.
And it really is a marvellous product.
Okay, so at home, if I decided to buy a whole big bag of this, obviously it's difficult mixing up what's going to be effectively about 60 kilos of product. That formula that we've talked about is going to have to be reduced by the appropriate percentages, but you could make 2 kgs of this up with 2 litres of syrup roundabout in a... How much of this?
Well, that's a maximum of 1 litre per bag.
Per 60 kilos that
So
we talked about.
if
Yep.
you're using a quarter of a bag, you're going to use 250 mils.
Or appropriately move it
Yes.
down. Yes,
Yes.
easy enough to do.
Yes.
So let's have a look at one of those patties again, just see what the finished product actually looks like.
Yeah. This is the finished product. It is nice and soft, as you can see, and when you put that in the hive, you just make a couple of cuts so the bees are straight on it. Normally you would put that down on top of the frames, and by the time you've grabbed the lid or crown board to put back on, the bees are in there enjoying
All
the
over,
food.
yep, yep.
They really love this
And
stuff.
because it's reasonably thick, it doesn't run.
It doesn't run. No. You can scoop it out of the bucket with your hive tool and just put it on the frames. That's okay. The advantage of having it wrapped like this, which is a pie bag or greaseproof paper, is it helps keep it soft.
Yep.
So it doesn't dry out at all. And that would be like that. We could leave it out here for 3 days. It would still stay nice and soft.
And we're sticking that right on top of the brood.
Correct. Just on top of
Yeah,
the
wherever,
top box.
wherever the brood is. You don't stick it over in the corner or
No,
whatever.
no.
Okay.
Just
right.
plumb.
Yep. Right. Fine. Now we're going to go outside. We've set up a mock hive. There's no bees in it, and Neil's going to explain in the hive how we're going to do this. All right, and we're just going to give a demo now of how we put our pollen patties in the hive. Pretty simple. Lids off, feeder off. 2 boxes of bees through.
Now we're just going to break it so that bees have got a surface to work on. Now he's going to put it down, that's it.
Put the hive back, put the feeder back on. You can be around the whole apiary, 20 hives in a matter of half an hour. So that's it from Trev and Neil, Trevs Bees on Facebook and YouTube, and we'll see you around in the beehive.